Carmela Santoro is a legend. Women my age and younger owe her a lot. She paved the way for us. Back in the day when being a woman and having a career were met with a lot of skepticism, she believed. She believed in a different world. She believed in a better world. She believed she could, and so she did. Carmela worked in education, fashion, aviation, marketing, and sales, and she excelled at it all until she had 2 beautiful children and chose to be a full-time mom. Why would I allow someone else to shape my children's mind? She affirmed. And so just like she did everything else before that, she gave her all to raising her children and building the perfect home for them with her beloved husband, Nick. Carmela's artistic and hardworking. She sees the big picture and she sees the details in the big picture. She is outspoken and energetic. She's a creator of beauty and a warrior of integrity. She loves life, and I truly believe she was sent down here by God to push all of us to ask, is this good enough? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sarra Show. Today's guest is my dear friend, Carmela Santoro. Carmela, it's so nice to have you here.
Thank you for asking me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm so excited about this conversation.
I am too. As friends, we speak a lot, but a lot of times we don't have time because we're always at a gathering, a party, a dinner to actually delve into one another. So, well, you're going to be delving into me more, but I think it's a two-way street.
Definitely. Before coming to the studio today, I was thinking, wow, Carmela and I have been together to so many places. We've been here in Miami where we met.
Exactly.
In New York, Morocco.
Exactly.
And we have so many more places to explore together. But I never thought of it that way, of like we've met in different cities,
different scenarios.
Different continents, different scenarios, different...
But that's another thing, just even the scenarios, whether it was working in one of your projects that you're working on, or at my home for Thanksgiving, to your family's wedding in Morocco. It allows us to see each other in different lights, and we're growing, and we're still growing, which is really the best part of any relationship, is to just keep growing.
So I wanted to have you on here today, just because you are a sea of wisdom. Every time you speak, I mean, you've had so many experiences, you've done so much in your life. You've been to so many different places. You have 2 beautiful children that you've raised. You've worked in so many sectors.
Yes, I have.
You've done it all.
Because Antonia calls me when she tries to describe me. She says, like, think of the Barbie dolls in the store. Barbie's a pilot. Barbie's a nurse. Barbie's a thing. And that's how she describes me, because I've done so many things. I mean, obviously I wasn't a pilot or a physician, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's Antonia's description of what she describes me.
Yeah.
So I just find that very amusing.
I totally agree with that. It's almost like you've had different lives.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, I'm sure every day you wake up with different thoughts, different ideas. You're the kind of person whose brain is always going. You're very creative.
It's a problem at times.
I would beg to differ. Right. I think you're very creative. Your mind is always thinking of what else to create, what else to bring to this world, or who else can I help? So I want to ask you, what's on your mind today?
Okay, so usually my mornings are pretty much the same pattern. You get up, you're thankful for the day. I'm very quick at that. I know many people spend a lot of time. When I open my eyes, I'm ready to go. So I'm too already revved up. So, but today was the fact that I think I told you, I stayed out late. I'm hoarse. I drank a lot. The disco was great. And I said, oh boy, I really should have thought more about getting home earlier, but, and then I thought of Chris today because he left for LA, my son, Chris, who left for LA yesterday morning. He is meeting his co-producer, Christina Cherambolo, in LA to hopefully, meet with lots of producers and with people who are going to collaborate. They're award-winning people. And to put his rendition of A Timeless Tale, Romeo and Juliet, set in South Beach. So that was actually the first thing on my mind today, wondering how that went, until I realized I had to take it back into me because I was meeting you today, and I realized, oh my gosh, I need to get in mindset for this. But usually my morning would be just putting on 10, 15 minutes of catching up the news as I'm having my coffee. And, I don't have to tell you, the world problems are always, right now, more than ever in my life. And I come from the World War II generation, my father and my mother. My father fought in the war. I come from the Vietnam era, that all my friends, the boys, were worried about being drafted. And I come now but there was still always hope in the world. And now it's on my mind all the time, the state of the world we're in, whether it's the Middle East, Israel, Ukraine. Our own government is so messed up. And I have to actually really make an effort to put all that aside, because I can't walk around so much with that burden. And you can only do so much, as I feel, unless I want to run for something. And quite honestly, I thought about it. And just saying to people, this is who I am. I never did this before. I'm going to make mistakes, but I can promise you I have integrity, and I'm going to bounce everything off of you. But other than that, you just try and change on a day-to-day basis, on a person-by-person basis, hopefully to have people realize how serious this is right now, that the great America, could be just like another Russia, Turkey, China, another dictatorship that can, where people still have capitalism. That's the new thing. The capitalist dictatorship. So it makes the people happy because they're spending, they have money, but yet they're fully controlled, and they really don't mind it that much because they're living their lives, except for the people who can't live their lives, or the intellectuals who want to be able to have free speech. So I that's how I normally wake up, okay, with that. And I try to see what's going on, shut it off, pick and choose where I could put my energy to.
What would Carmela do if she was president?
That's a really hard question. I think the first thing was I would get a panel of academic scholars, people with integrity, whether they are military people, teachers, businessmen. I mean, they have to be people with integrity, not just success. I don't measure people by success. I measure people by their integrity. And I would try to have some type of panel formed, where we can find a way to have what disseminates from our newscasters and our media and all the YouTubes and all that, facts, and how to differentiate between the facts and the fiction and opinion, the misinformation, the bombardment of information. That's what I think is a real crucial thing we need to do now. The misinformation that's out there, most people do not take the time. They just listen to the same people all the time, even when I tell people, did you listen to Amanpour? Do you listen to Fareed Zakaria? I'm really getting very happy with Margaret Hoover on Firing Line, who used to, I was raised on William Buckley, and I just love him since I was, so you can see what a nerd I was, even as a little girl, okay? And I just want people like that back. I want that back. And how? How do we get that back? And the second thing I think is try to control the noise that's we're bombarded with all the time. No matter where you go, it's a television set, it's in your face, the doctor's office, even the music is great, and I love music. But there is no peace that we have anymore. No place where our minds aren't being attacked at all times, constantly being attacked. That doesn't, and I think it's done on purpose. So it allows you not to think, not to dream. You know, if you have torture camps or you ever look up things from history of what torture is, lights on all the time, loud music and noise 24/7. They use those as torture means. And now we're sort of all getting used to that. And it stops, and the young people don't even know what it's like not to be occupied. It's that constant stimulation of, it stops you from thinking. It stops you from dreaming.
From being creative.
From being creative.
From really knowing who you are.
Exactly, because it's a mind control. It's to break you down and to put you where they want you to put you. And they is whatever, the people who are doing this. And I worry about America right now, coming from the generation who knows what it took to put this country together. And I'm not saying we're perfect, but I think we're the only country that really airs our dirty laundry out for everyone to see. Most countries hide those things.
How do we move forward? We learn through mistakes, obviously. There are consequences that we have to deal with. And then there's moving forward, or there's beating up on the past. How do we best move forward?
Well, the first thing is like having the obviously equal rights. Like that was important for, during the civil rights movement. It's important for the women's movement. I'm part of the women. I wrote my thesis at the time, and they were all men. And who I had to present this thesis to was this discrimination against women. It was a terrible thesis. I look back at nights, I couldn't believe I wrote so poorly, but it was this discrimination against women in academia. And I'll never forget that, I didn't do a good enough job, so I'm admitting that before anybody looks it up and then says it, because it wasn't. So I know that now. I learned a lot from then. So having said that, I don't want anybody to look at that and say, is that her work? But I just think that you have to learn to get the rights, to have the laws. And of course, the laws aren't going to change everything. The people have to change things, but at least you have a law to back you up. So that, I think, is important. Sometimes the affirmative action things work. Whether it wasn't just for Black people, affirmative action was for women. Open enrollment at the time when I went to college, I probably wouldn't have been accepted into a school. I could have been accepted into anything at that point, but because it was open for that, I would have done a good job because I always do my best, and I'm always a student. But having said that, I think that's the first thing, and then not to linger on that. And I think I feel a little problem today. Again, the abuse as women going back in the 70s. I look at women who stayed at their jobs. I remember watching the Anita Hill on television, and they asked her, well, why did you stay there? Why did you just leave? And it was like, yeah, I would have left because I was a young girl from Brooklyn, from an Italian family who said you could be anything you want to be, but you got to stay in the neighborhood. So, and they did that because they were worried about you were a girl. Girls didn't venture out so much. Okay, so, boys were okay to be the cats that went out, So I think that, yes, you have to learn, we had to learn to deal with things, not accept things, to be confident enough in ourselves to, like I taught my daughter, I said, I'm sorry, you think everything's equal. It's never going to be equal. It's never going to be equal. Okay, so just get that out of your head.
When you say equal, you mean?
For boys and girls. It's never going to be equal. So, but you have to learn to outmaneuver and outsmart and to hold your own. Meaning if a guy is out there saying dirty jokes, you could just walk away and say, I'm out of, you don't even have to say I'm out of here. Just leave. Okay? There's no need. I mean, and if the person, of course, if people get the message, if people continually do things, then now they have the human resources. Back then, we didn't have that. So what I'm saying is there are means for people who refuse to follow the proper way of etiquette, okay? But there's also, as a woman, you don't realize how much power we have in being a woman. Being a woman, you can have power by being a lady because men automatically will treat you differently when you're a lady.
Elaborate.
Okay, I know I'm going to sound really old-fashioned, and I'm sorry, I still believe in that even at this age, is to speak properly. I think that's good for everyone, men and women speaking properly. I think that to not feel like you're one of the boys, never feel like you're one of the boys, okay? Every once in a while I'll notice a girl or a young lady, excuse me, again, my daughter corrects me with that too. You're supposed to say young lady instead of girls, where she's just speaking really inappropriately in a group. And it's like, it's not a good idea. Not a good idea. That's all, because you're treated the way you present yourself and you're treated the way you hold yourself. And you still have to hold yourself.
I could argue that's for both men and women.
Oh, without a doubt, but the men get away with it more and the women can't,
You think that still happens nowadays?
I think it happens more in certain industries than other industries. I think that women and men, I think you'll find it. Yeah, I think there are still really crummy men. They forget if they have a daughter, you have to remind them. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have to remember, you have a daughter. Come on, give it a break.
Yeah. I personally believe that us as women, we are more powerful staying as women.
Oh, I agree.
I think we've not, and when I say staying as women, I'm not talking to not having any ambitions or not wanting to create anything we want to create, but whatever it is that we want to create or do, to do it from the place of being a woman. I think for too long, what happened after feminism is we tried to do things like boys, to compete with boys or to be accepted. It came from an innocent place. But I think what maybe went wrong, where we went wrong, is we tried to do things like them because that's what's valued in society or at work, to be able to do things the same way. But I think we have our own power doing things our way.
Oh, I agree.
And succeeding from that place.
But it starts from everything. The pendulum always swings to the extreme. I remember when I started out, after my many careers, I left teaching, I went a flight attendant, and I went into business because I taught business, so that I saw my students going out with a high school diploma, making twice what I was making, and I couldn't live on what I was making. So I went into the business field, and at that time, the sales field was just opening up. It was always a men's field. Like IBM, there was always the men. There were still typewriters on the desk, so I'm letting you know that. And the women were, like one or two women were in the field, and I guess they started seeing that the women were really getting indoors because especially if you were an attractive woman, they really like, oh, yeah, I'll sit with you. You know what I mean? So I got into that field, and it was very interesting because most of the women were dressed like a sort of with the blue suit with the blouses that tied. Now, Sarah, you know me already. I would never dress like that.
Right.
Okay. So I had to figure, okay, what can and I was like 29 at the time, maybe 30. And no, I wasn't even 30 yet. I was like 28 years old. And I remember, okay, I need a look that can be me, but at the same time, I can't dress like that. So to me, it was the perfect Connecticut look, which was, the St. John dress with the pumps, or something like that, which allowed me to look very ladylike, but at the same time, it had an air of conservativeness to it, and it, I always had my one or two outfits I used to call my Nancy Reagan outfit that I needed to get into and I knew they were really ultra conservative. And I would sort of put that Nancy Reagan outfit on. And then, sure enough, when I got the account, I slowly got them used to me dressing in my style because they were happy with me. So, yeah, but I saw many women doing that, okay? But honestly, it was hard to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
It was really difficult.
That's what I was saying. It's not by choice, like forced into, we got to take on the more masculine energy to be valued or respected or heard or even given space in the room. You mentioned some women were even dressing like men.
Yes.
To even be given any sort of voice. And beyond the dress code, it probably was and still is being strong, right? Being maybe speaking like a man, maybe showing up like a man, just taking on those masculine qualities.
Exactly.
And I feel like we've abandoned our feminine qualities in the name of the masculine qualities just to be seen, heard, respected, valued, and to have a seat at the table. I mean, I wouldn't even say equal salaries because we're not even there.
We're not even there yet.
Right. But even giving up all our feminine qualities and jumping into those masculine qualities, we're still... then I feel like we lost.
We came a long way. I think we all come a long way.
We definitely came a long way.
But you're still working on it. And you're
still working on it.
But there's still individual people who feel better in what suits them better. Maybe no one else was dressed like me like that. I mean, but I've always been different in that respect, okay? So I was like that as a little girl. I would have my looks. Fashion is something that's always... I just love. I just love it. But having said that, and it's okay to be, that's shallow. I'm sorry, that's shallow. Okay.
Why is that shallow?
Well, some people would think. I always had 3 priorities in my life. It was education, which I feel education is forever. I'm still a student. I'll always be a student. Travel, because traveling just broadens you, and again, it goes with education. And the third was fashion, my clothing, and that's really important. And yes, so if that's the part of me, but that's a part of me that's so necessary. So it's okay. But what I think though, you hit on something that maybe you didn't realize you hit on, and I could be wrong, is that once you get good at something, and you get your confidence in something, you then are better at it and you could be more of yourself. I think for women at my time entering, and even now entering fields that are still new to women, or entering any field that is still where anyone wonders, is it going to make a difference, me being a male or a female? I think once you become good at what you do, and you got to not only be good, you got to be better. I always told my kids when they say, oh, there's a lot of competition. Life is always competition. You just got to be better. Most people are lazy. Most people don't work hard enough. Most people think that that's a good enough job. Good enough is like very common. But if you don't go around thinking good enough is okay and you want to excel, you will be recognized. I really believe that you will be recognized because they have no choice. It comes down to the bottom line, money. And if you're good, you're good. But we still have roadblocks. One of the things is childbearing. So when you have children and you want to now, again, let's say you want to raise your children, they became, in my time, I left a very successful career. Nick always says, my husband's Nick, he always said that I got the most expensive nanny out there because I just thought I was going to go back. It never dawned on me that I wouldn't.
Go back to work.
Yes. And I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. I knew that was more to leave my child with someone else to put input into a brain and the person that I just took out of my stomach. Right. It was impossible for me to think that anyone could do a better job than me.
Is it the structure that's not working for us women? Because it feels like when you talk to me about you had to leave your job.
Well, I didn't have to. I chose to.
Right, you chose to. But if it was a different structure, we say we live in a man's world. But if there was the structure that's more geared toward women, like the 9 to 5 just doesn't work for women who have children. And even when we're on our cycle, it's just we have different patterns and we wire differently. So might it be that it's just a structure issue because it's a manly structure and we're trying to live in it versus just create a structure that works for us women? Does that make sense?
No, it does. I always still feel, especially now, I think that I actually was speaking to Nick about this, because of the COVID and more people are working from home, which is a nice thing, but it's not a great thing because you want to be more isolated. Young people aren't making the connections they need to make. You're not hearing things in the office that you can find out and say, oh, I didn't know they're doing that. Could I be part of that? It's easier to fire someone on a Zoom box than it is to fire the person you go to lunch with every day. So I just think that there's so much real estate now in Manhattan. I don't know about here in Miami, even though I'm a Miami resident, I'm a new Miami resident, but Manhattan has a lot of real estate available, office space. And I'm thinking, I said, it would be a great opportunity to use that office space where there would always be in every building childcare. So you could bring your children to work, drop them off at great childcare, not just somebody putting them in front of a TV set.
Have lunch with them.
And knowing that they're being taught. I put both my kids in preschool, which I couldn't afford at the time. This was like on my charge plate, was the Montessori schools. Okay, because I believe, being a teacher, my master's is in education, and being a teacher, which I think is in my blood. My mother was, even though my mother didn't graduate, she actually didn't graduate from high school. She's dead now. She'll kill me if I said that if she was alive. But she was a natural teacher. So I just think that if that's a good opportunity now for the buildings to, when they're regrouping, to think about that, to put in really amazing childcare at all levels and preschool, not only from infancy, actually have areas where they're Montessori preschools, unless there's something new and different out now. Before it was the women who took care of the kids all the time, and their lives changed, okay? Now it's the men get the kids half of the time. So now they are sort of like, I got to be home to take my kid to track. I got to be home to, so they're on a daddy track as well as we had to be on a mommy track. That didn't happen before. I think whoever's the better parent at what the job is should be doing it. I think that's why my marriages work so well. We sort of know our lanes, and I heard that from somebody before, knowing your lane, and I've used that. So I don't give credit to whoever said that. I don't know. I don't remember. But I think it's really important as a team. It's like anything, working as a team, to know what your lane is, what you do best, what the other person does best, and then trust each other to go in your lanes and build a life and move forward. So
The secret to a successful marriage. Work as a team.
Work as a team. Yes, work as a team. Respect for one another. Fun. Oh, you have to have fun. I mean, really, because you have a lot of bad times. You have a lot of difficult times. You have times you think of divorce. A friend of mine who, sorry to say, just died last year, came to one time, they were by our home, and he said, how, I think we were married at that time only 30 years. We're like 41 years now. So he said, how many times did you think of divorcing your husband? So I said, I would think about 3 times. He goes, that's not bad once every 10 years. So, and I still think of him till today with that answer. And I just thought that it's hard. It's constant work. And you need to I think we still have fun, which was proven last night that I was hoarse for today. And we went to a great...
What'd you do last night?
We went to Moishe's Manor's birthday party, and he always, in Wynwood, and he always has a great celebration for his party. And it's always wonderful, and the people I see, and actually this time I liked this party the best because it was smaller, and I actually got to speak with people. Well, when it's usually what I call a rave, you really are not speaking with anyone. You just could barely. But it was loud, and the night before I was at another loud party, so my ears are a little off, my throat's a little hoarse. But we just had fun. We just had a lot of fun. So you have to do that. You have to take time for fun, and be yourself. Be yourself, and I also think. This is hard because you're not going to like everything about your partner. Either one, but just don't tell them. Just try and keep quiet.
You don't tell them what you don't like about them?
Well, you could say it when if you're ever having a discussion, things that you would hope to be worked on. But, you're in an argument, sometimes you really have to be careful. I always tease Nick. I say, if you could only read my mind, you would know what I'm thinking. And I'm glad that mental telepathy hasn't come through. We haven't come to that part yet, because I would be in a lot of trouble. And he would be the same way, because I could imagine what he could be saying in his mind. So you just keep it to yourself, okay?
What's for couples who are maybe newly married or going through some issues right now? Would you share with us some difficult times that you've had with Nick and how you came the other side glorious?
That's really hard. I don't mean to. There were times I remember when we were starting out, that maybe the rug was pulled out from under us financially, when I thought that we were going to do okay. It's not his fault. Sometimes the markets, when you're starting out, you're the low man on the totem pole. So, things get pulled out from under you. Being so frightened, being so scared. But what you always do. I guess that's coming from Brooklyn, where we both come from. It's coming from parents, again, who, they weren't immigrants, but their parents were immigrants. We're from Italy. Nick's Italian also, where you do just start again. You do just start again, and you do what it needs to do to start again. So it's just knowing. I always admired Nick that he never just, I could still see it in my head. He would still get up every morning, same time as if he was going to catch the train, put on a suit, and do what he needed to do to find another job or to do something like that. So I am really proud of someone who could do that, okay? I am the same way, but I've seen friends whose husbands just go into the television set and, oh, there's nothing out there. It's this, it's that. You know what? Yeah, but what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. You do what you could do. I've seen men who were from Wall Street during that time being in the shoe department in Neiman Marcus or something like that. And you know what? I give them a lot of credit. They did what they had to do until things changed. All right? I mean, these were the markets are very volatile. And sometimes you have to, things happen. Shit happens.
Right,
you know?
shit happens. So never give up.
No, you can't. You just have to
Stay in action.
Stay in action, put yourself out there, and, just keep. I know there are people who lost it all. I mean, you see that. I mean, and then they come back and they make more money than ever. I know it doesn't happen to everyone, and I don't want to say this because someone once said to me, yes, but there's people who that doesn't happen to. And I agree, there are, but I think for the most part, I'm talking about people that I surround. I'm basically fortunate. My friends and my surroundings are with people who've been college educated, who are in the usually the business field in some way, whether they were attorneys or bankers or insurance or hedge funds or whatever you ever feel that was in. I don't know. There are people who are in industries that they were in, like you could say, in some of the auto industry, where they're there for 30 years and they closed up. And now you're 60 or 70 years old and you don't even have your pension anymore. Yeah, I'm not, that is difficult. That's a whole different scenario, than being 30-something and having the rug pulled out from under you several times, in your life. I mean, even in my life, it's been pulled out from me when I wasn't with Nick. But I know those are different scenarios, and those have to be looked at. Those are where the safety nets need to come in for people from our government. People at that age with those type of things that have happened to them should not have to be working behind a counter in a department store at 75 years old because after working all that time, because they can't meet even to pay their medical insurance. So those are things that have to definitely be looked at. Those are different scenarios. So I'm blessed in all my scenarios. I have the good scenarios.
Right.
So I think that's something that's in a different realm.
Yeah. We've spoken about being American and how it is to be here and what's going on in the world right now. Do your friends know you as funny?
Yes, it's funny. They're the only ones who think I'm funny.
I think you're funny. I think you're hilarious.
They're the only ones who think I'm funny. My children, my husband thinks I'm always serious. My children see me, the funny side of me. They do. But my friends really see the funny side of me. And that is great. I need, the importance of having friends is, it's the most, I can't say it's the most, of course my children and my husband are the most important, but they are they're part of your world. They make you who you are. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing more and more the value of the friendships, especially the women friendships.
I read that somewhere not too long ago. I even told my mom about it. Women who age well and happier have a good circle of friends, like girlfriends.
Yes.
It wasn't about a husband who's still around or children or anything like that. The number one thing they found out was a good circle of friends, girlfriends.
It's a must. It's a must. I think when you're younger and you're busy with your career, you're busy with your children, you're busy. You have family, you have holidays, you're doing a house, you're cooking. Again, Italian families. You have to realize I always had my feet in both worlds, the traditional world and the modern world. And it was really, really difficult to do that hopscotch constantly because you you had to follow what your parents, you were expected to. And then, but you have a completely new way of looking at going forward. So yes, I love that they think that I'm funny. My children always see me as funny. We did a lot of fun things growing up. We would laugh at one another. We would giggle.
What makes you laugh?
Basically, I laugh at myself most of the time because I do sometimes I could do so, for being such a serious person, I could do the most stupid things. And I'll give you a great example. I sometimes lack common sense. And my sister, who's older than I am, who I just love her dearly, is the most practical, common sense person you ever go to. Taught me, and is still teaching me to this day, still teaching me. I would do something, and she says, Carmela, why don't you just do it like this? And it's like, oh, I didn't think of that. And then she'll say, and you went to college, because she didn't go to college. So that was something that I was sort of raised with that in my voice. And she went to college. And so I could laugh at myself for the many silly things that I can not realize that I catch myself doing. Antonia is, Antonia, my daughter, she's hysterical. I admire her so much for, one, keeping her women friends no matter how busy she is. She keeps her women friends instead of dropping them off as the relationship and your children. Well, she doesn't have children yet, but I know she'll keep them. And the second thing is she is so witty. She is so quick and witty, but always generous and kind. I mean, she could actually, if she needed to throw a hard blow, she could, but the person would have to think, did she mean that as a compliment or because she's that witty and that funny. Even the emojis she sends me, I laugh out loud. I literally laugh out loud at something that I would do. I would lecture her. Text has been the best thing for mothers because you get to text what you want to say and it's over, So it's really been like, I think as for mothers, it's a must. Sometimes she would send me back the perfect emoji to make me laugh at it. Like, I got your message, but it's always in a funny way or in a way that is like, I'm trying to think of the word, but I find her, she's a breath of fresh air. Oh. Gosh, she's a breath of fresh air to me. Always been.
What gets better with age?
It's funny that I think that's the easiest question to answer at this moment in my life. I just think being comfortable with who I am. It is okay. I don't sit there anymore and think, stay up all night, that maybe I said something that I shouldn't have said. I'll think about it. I'll still think about something, but okay, correct it. I don't agonize over things anymore. I don't overthink things anymore. I learn to let go. Good enough. Now, at my age, good enough is okay. And I still have a hard time with that. My mother-in-law still says to me, the problem, Carmela, with you is that you keep adding on new things because you always want more learning, more experiences, but you don't take anything off. So you're always over busy. And at this point in my life, I need more downtime than I ever needed before. So I have to choose what I'm going to take off my list in order to move forward. So I think that I'm on this I call stage 3 of my life. I'm in stage 3. There's stage 3, there's real old, and then dead, okay? So
is real old stage 4?
Stage 4 is real old. The number is up there, but I still feel like I'm 40, okay? Even though that's why I stopped. I don't know if I want to say this on camera. I stopped at 70. I won't go past. I don't even volunteer my age anymore like before. And a lot of the young people get upset with me about that. You should be proud that you're 70. You should flaunt it. We look up to someone like you. You know what? No. I just,
no, thank you.
The number bothers me.
The number bothers you.
Yes, 50 didn't bother me, 60 didn't bother me, 70 bothered me. And I don't want to keep adding the numbers. I'll deal with 80 when it comes. But in between that, I'm not thinking about it because it's holding me back. Just the number frightens me. So yes, and I don't think at 80 I'll be old either. You have to realize, I think I'm never going to be old. I've always think I'm exempt from everything, and I'm not. And it's like God's going to take me out. My fingernails are going to be in that dirt, dragging me, and I'm going to be saying, no, I know I believe in you, but no, I'm not going yet. So that's me.
Your energy level is the same.
No, I used to be much more energetic.
Really?
Oh, God, you would think I was on crack, how I was, or the ever-ready battery. No, I could juggle so many things, not skip a beat. I mean.
You know what's interesting is like, because you also have a perfectionist side.
Oh, I'm very much.
And then you have a lot of energy in terms of doing many things, juggling many things at the same time. It's, when you think of it from the outside, to be a perfectionist and do so many things at the same time, keep integrity doing all of them.
Exactly.
That's very rare to find. Is that natural or is that training?
I think, it's who I am. I do not know how to do anything not to the best of my ability. That's one. Secondly, so I don't think it's training. I just think it's who I am. I've always been like that. I always try to be the best. There are some things you're not going to be the best at, and you have to realize that. And it's okay. You can't be the best at everything. And it is okay. You can just, if this is how far I could go in that particular area, then that's as far as I could go. So that's the part 2. The part 3 that I'm learning is that you have to, because there's less time, and I am less energetic than I used to be, and I could juggle less than I used to be able to juggle, I have to sort of put caps on things now of what's prioritized, what it is that I still want to. And that's where what I'm doing at this moment. That's where I am at this moment in my life. It's, okay, what am I? I mean, I had a list. I need 3 more lives to do everything I want to do. And I'm not Hindu. So I'm not, and I wonder if you're a Hindu, I got to find that out. Do you come back knowing that you already did that so you could check it off your list? Or
I think maybe your soul knows, because
you mean it's added onto your soul and your DNA?
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's a transcendence, I think, from my understanding. But the point is, you're not supposed to come back.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you did.
You're supposed to come back if you still have some lessons to learn or something to understand or something to create.
Okay.
But the point is once you achieve enlightenment, you don't come back then. But as long as you haven't, you keep coming back. And that's my understanding. I might be wrong.
Well, I just feel like whatever, that since I'm just assuming I'm not coming back. I'm just assuming.
But you don't know. I don't think you know.
I'm just assuming that. Supposing I'm Catholic, in the Catholic religion, you're in one of God's rooms.
You're assuming you're not coming back.
Yeah, so I'm assuming I'm not coming back. I'm going to be upset about that. But it's the way. Supposedly I'm going to be happier. And I'm a believer, but it doesn't mean because I'm a believer that I still don't want to be here. Yeah, I asked my mom before she died, "Are you afraid?" And she said to me, "No, I'm just not ready." And that's what she said to me. So I feel I'm the same way. But I think that you have to realize that there's caps. I'm realizing now, okay, what are my priorities? And I made a list. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
What's not going to happen? Like, what, can you give us an example of what's on that list?
First thing my husband thought when the kids were out of the house is like, are you going to open a restaurant now? Because I'm known for my cooking. Are you going to open a restaurant? I was like, no. It's like, do you know, I come from, my father was at a restaurant. Do you realize the work? It's like raising a family all over again. If I was 50, I probably would do that. But no, I don't want to at this age. I don't want my time consumed with things that, even though I would enjoy that, I don't want the third part of my little that's what's left in my life, to be consumed with that. I want to build on myself. I want to still continue, I'm an avid reader. I want to maybe learn Italian. I'm Italian, but I don't speak Italian. I still want to enjoy my children and my friends and spend more time with my family. I would like in yoga to be able to progress in yoga to a point where I can do crow and stand on my head. Okay. I would, little things like that. I would like to I'd like to do, aerial yoga, which I love, but I haven't done it since before COVID. I just think that, for instance, I'll give you a great example of one of the things I took off my list. I had journals that I kept for 35 years. My kids, as soon as I had my kids, day they gave birth, started journal writing. I had the whole thing planned. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to put my journals of what I wrote down. I'm going to have my reflections of what Carmela thinks of it at this point of my life. I had excerpts from pages and I have huge files of this stuff in my drawers of the written words and especially spiritual references, Bible references that would go with that period of my life.
Do you ever go back and read your journal?
I started. And as much pleasure, I got through the first one. And I'm so glad. I tell every mother I run into now to do that. You must write down. I thought when I was going to write these journals, I sort of saw myself like the English, writing there with the beautiful pen and the poetry would be written, like the great, the women writers of American time. It wound up being in a marble notebook at the end of the day, scribbling out words spelt wrong, but and it wasn't every day, but I would catch up. I just saw things that I would have never remembered. It was the most beautiful. After I read them, I remember them. Every time I see a mother and they're stopping when it babies out, and I hope anyone who listens to your podcast, this video, I'm sorry, whatever you call it, I don't know. You can see I'm really very behind in this field. I would tell them to just jot down the things because I wanted to do that. And then when I started doing it, I says, I can't do this. I'm too active I can't sit down all day. I have too much to do. I have too much future I don't want to. So I decided I didn't want my kids to interpret things that because there was maybe some dark moments in those journals. Maybe they would read them and not realize what I was thinking at the time.
The context.
Yes, because they don't know. You don't know what's going on in your parents' life when at the time when you were 4 I remember my mother banging pots one time and I couldn't understand why until years later, my father took the insurance policy out that she put money to, the life insurance, because at that time you could do it. It wasn't even his policy, it was her policy. He took the money out without telling her because he needed it for the restaurant. And he never even told her. The banks just give it to her because the men had domain over, the women at the time. And that's what the banging of the pots were. But I didn't know about that.
You didn't have the context.
Yeah, I remember.
So you worried that your children might read the journals without the context and interpret them in a way that...
Right, that's why I wanted to do what I was doing. But then I said, I can't do this. So I decided to put stickums. And I told them, listen, you got to know that anything you're going to read, you have to realize there is more to it than that.
Are they reading them now?
No, they won't even bother. But someday they probably will. Maybe they'll write the book. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe 30 years from now.
Or maybe when I'm 93. And I'm
getting curious.
And I finally want to sit down and... I don't want this ever to happen to me, but if I guess it ever came to a point, oh, God forbid, I'm making the sign of the cross. God forbid if I was ever immobile and I had no other option, but I don't want that ever to happen.
Was it hard for you reading back on what happened a long time ago? Like, was it, because sometimes we're brought back to the past and we're like, oh, why bother? This happened a long time ago. Let me move forward. Or did you have any joy? What kind of
I
feeling?
thought it
like-
was all joy. I realized how much I enjoyed being a mother. Oh my God. I mean, I know I did, but I didn't realize how much I did until I started reading those things. How much enjoyment I got out of my children at every stage. And I still do. I knew it, but I didn't. Reading it, it was there. It was so obvious how much enjoyment I got out of this and how much I enjoyed watching them and doing things with it. And it was hard. It was hard because I was a perfectionist. I was a teacher. My kids, we had work every day. Even if it was play, it was work. You put back your toys. They were color-coordinated bins, so yellow goes with yellow, red goes with red, counting as you put them in, 1, 2, 3. My kids were not even 3 years old, and they knew their colors. They knew how to count to 100. My father-in-law once did something. He said to Chris, thinking he couldn't do it, I have a $100 bill here. I think it was like 3 years. If you could count to 100, you got the bill. Chris did. He got the bill. He got that. My father-in-law was like in shock, But I always believed this is what you did. That's parenting. You made learning fun. School is fun. Education is a gift. Learning is a gift. I never wanted them to do their homework as, oh God, you got homework to do? We got to get this out of the way. As so many parents I hear say that, it's like, no, you got to respect. I was taught to respect books, to respect learning, to respect school. You don't have to be an A student in everything. You have to did you learn? What did you get out of it? Sometimes you're just not good at a subject. Even if you got a tutor, you still suck at it. So that's it. That's life.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. As long as it doesn't take away from, the willingness and fun from learning. Because a lot of times kids, and even for us adults, if we feel like we're failing at something, we might withdraw, we might not try again, we might, blame a lot of things on the thing. I think we put a lot of emphasis on the results versus
that's what's
process.
not to do. That's the difference between getting a grade and learning. People teach to the grade. I'm not saying the grade isn't a measure, and people need measurements of where the child is at different points. I'm agreeing with that. And not every child can meet every standard. Having said that, if you make learning fun and interesting, you go at it with a different mindset. And I was never good at math. I was great until I got to algebra. I still, don't give me figure out what X is. I can still count in my head and carry several numbers and add. Well, the kids today can't. Everything is the calculator.
Earlier you mentioned something that was really interesting. You said, I really think about how I consume my time right now. That's a very, I think that's a great way for anybody to look at life. That's a great perspective because time is all we have. We can never get it back. And so as you're looking at your time or what's coming up for you, you're really thinking about what brings you joy and you're making those choices for yourself, saying no to this and yes to that. What are some of the things that how do you decide on what to say yes to, I guess, is the question.
First of all, you're right. I think if I learned that younger, I would have been much happier. I think I had a lot of frustrating moments in my life that if I only knew, I didn't know how to say no to certain things. I always felt, whether it's the church, I always say when you want something done, ask a busy person. So you ask busy people all the time, whether it's trying to help somebody. I always do like to help people. I still do. But it's like you can't help everybody. I just think that if I learned that early, I would have liked that. Now the decision is made by working on what I'm trying to prioritize at this moment for myself. What is important for me at this moment? what do I need to accomplish in the 10 years before I hit 80? I'm not even going to worry about 80 to 90. I'm just going to worry about 70 to 80. What are some of the things that I want to put my time to? There are things I did want to put my time to, but I think I left my ego behind finally. I really do. And I'm fine with being in the background. I'm good. It's fine with me. I don't need any credit for anything. It is okay. I mean, if I could do a little less, maybe, and you take all the credit for it, and I'll help the way I can, put your whole name on it if you want. So I'm okay with that now. Well, before, I think when you're younger, you want more recognition, but maybe you also need it because you need to build your career. And without the recognition, you're not getting it. You're not moving forward. So there's a two-edged sword on that. I just think right now it's seeing what it is I'm going to put my time on. I do get sucked into things yet, but I catch myself quicker than I did before. I'll be able to say, I would like to help you, or I'd like to do that for you, but I can't. And I admit I did learn to lie, something I never did. I did learn to lie a bit in the sense that, yes, I was always giving up my exercise time. And I enjoy that. And now everybody's going, no, you better edit this out. No, you really, because now they're going to know. I forget. I still think, you see how good you are? I actually feel like I'm having a conversation.
I'll edit. Which part do you want me to edit?
Well,
the lion part.
But this is the fun part that makes your interview fun, so don't worry about it.
No, it's also okay.
I don't see how I
leave this whole thing.
No, I wonder. You see how I don't care? I love it. I love that I don't care. It's okay. I'm allowed. Okay, I am allowed to have my time. I'm allowed.
Of course.
Right. But many times you feel when someone's pulling you in a direction and and it's also realize, what, you could do this. You don't need me for this. You could do this. People sometimes have a tendency to make like they don't know how to do something because they know you're the type and in all fairness, if you've been some way for the last 40 years and this is who you've been, my mother used to always say again, you can't expect people to turn on a dime. You can't turn on a dime. It takes a while to readjust people to, yes, I can do that for you, but I really don't want to, and that's okay.
Is it hard for you to say that? Is it hard for you to just say, no, I don't want to?
Now it's not.
Okay.
Now it's not. But I did have a hard time with that.
How did it become easy for you?
You helped me a lot with that, I have to say. In your coaching and all the things that you've done, you helped me with that. And it just finally clicked. I think it took me like 3 years, but it finally clicked. I just finally feel I'm in the right place. And I'm happy about that. And I'm finally feeling free again. I get disappointed. I worry now. I said to the kids, because Christmas is a big responsibility for mothers. The tree, the decorating, the maid, everything has to look like the TV. The package is perfectly wrapped, the bow's perfectly wrapped, the table setting and all that. And I have all that stuff. I'm a vignette person who loves to create the scenario. You know that.
I know. I've been to your house in New York. I've been to your apartment in Manhattan. I've been to your apartment here. It's pretty perfect, you guys. Okay, it's pretty perfect. I mean, the details.
Everything's in the details.
Everything is in the details, but you have details in terms of even, which I hadn't even experienced before with anybody, the level of your details and how much hands-on you get in terms of even light.
Oh.
And I say even, for you, it probably doesn't sound like even. It's
right.
Like, what do you mean? It's the most important thing.
It's huge.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, well, even the light, but the lights and how things match with each other in like the small little corners.
The shadows,
I remember.
Polishing your crystals so the light bounces off.
Before you let me stay in your apartment in Manhattan, and you were talking about the blinds, right? And I was like, wow, Carmela, like you're talking about the details of how the blinds open and how to close and how to do this. And I've never been at anyone's apartment or house who had that much details around blinds and very little things. You know, for us, they might be little, but they're not for you.
I love beauty. I love to surround myself with beauty. And I don't mean in things. You see, none of my houses are cluttered.
But here's the thing, though. It's not that you just love beauty. You create beauty.
Thank you.
That's what makes you different.
Thank you.
You could say, I love beauty and just go to a beautiful place and be surrounded by it.
True.
You really take the time to create beauty for yourself and for other people. And you do an amazing job at it.
Thank you. I just need that. I see it wherever I go. I mean, I love taking photos in the city. I do street photography, and I love it. Someone would stop me and said, "Oh, where are you from?" I say, "No, I'm from here." You know what I mean? But my whole life, I was so busy walking to work, running to work. You're just not seeing. And now I have the time, and I can. All of a sudden, that tree, the shadow of the tree against the building, I'll stop and I take several pictures of that, or the man who's in the street, looking to see what he could find. And it wasn't a poorly dressed man or anything like that, but it was just his whole concentration on it was very interesting to me. But I like it is. I don't know. I came out this way. I don't know.
You know, I gotta say, really, that Carmela is such an interesting individual where there is a great mix of practicality and getting things done and being in action and moving quickly, and also really taking the time to stop and looking at the contrast of the shadow of the tree with the building and the guy who's on the floor creating something. To have the ability to move so fast and to also pause and take the time to see those things, that's something I've never experienced in anybody.
Oh, thank you.
And really...
You see, when you say love, thank you.
You're welcome. And it's true, and I mean it. And I don't know how you do it. I really don't know how you do it. You're an exceptional individual.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. And I'm so blessed. You know how I feel about you. You're younger than I am, but you're a peer. You're a peer. I always tell everybody that. My 40-year-old friend's a peer. It's just wonderful to be surrounded by love. I'm appreciating that more and more and more. The love of the people around me, the appreciation of the people around me, and wanting to continue that and to share it and to give it out and to help and to connect people together. This is the love that we need to all be doing for one another in general. And that's how I feel. And you know that because you're one of those people yourself, Sarah. You are a healer. You healed me when you were in the yoga class. I'm going to tell the people this. My mother just died. I'm in pigeon pose. And I've never had a teacher like her ever in my life. And you know that. I still say that to her. I still tell her every yoga studio I go to. There's never been anyone like you. And I'm like weeping so no one hears me. And I feel these hands on me and just touching me so softly and calming me. And and it was you. It was you who came. No one else knew it in the class. And it was just and Gunnar came to sit next to me, and it's like he knew what I needed too. Yeah. So you're one of those people, and when you get older, this is just a part of who you will be, and like my mother said, and more, because you're starting out so much younger, you know so much more. The world is more open than it was ever open for us. You, a person who's already traveled more, at your age more than I ever did, and sees so much and appreciates people like you do, and is extremely inquisitive, which is and you break things down. So just imagine you at 70. I'll probably be dead, but I'll be watching you from above. Okay? I will. I promise always.
I know you'll always be with me.
I will. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carmela. Is there any last words you want to add?
No, this was I was nervous about today. I just had no idea. I never did this before. And it was just a wonderful conversation with you. I really appreciate that you thought enough of me to take the time.
Of course, this was fun, and I always love being in conversation with you. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate having you in my life. I appreciate knowing you, and I appreciate you taking me on as a family member.
Oh, definitely. You are a family member now. Too late. Once it's like too late, you're in. So it's when you meet more of the family. Well, I met a lot of yours, but when you come in, you meet a little more of mine, you say, oh boy, this is what she was talking about. But it's okay.
Even my parents who you've met are very appreciative of you and Nick, and always send their love and regard.
Thank you. And I feel the same way.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.